Well, here's an unusual video. Well, not unusual, has nothing to do with service, but it might. It's more of a let's help out a fellow F10 forum member, Perdendasi. I don't know how you pronounce your username there, but I reached out to him and said, hey, send me your Vostok with the custom bezel and the movement that just doesn't run so good. Let's tackle that bezel first. First of all, it's a nice bezel. It's very cool looking, it's very slick, thick, it's got a good feel to it, and it doesn't stay on the watch. And as you can see pretty quickly, here's the problem. We have some interference. The bezel is sitting on the threads of the screw down crown, and it doesn't allow it to seat, so therefore we have a gaposis right there. Let's zoom in. That gap is about 25 thousandths of an inch. That's just enough that this won't settle down. Now if you unscrew the crown, it's not the crown interfering, it is in fact those threads. The bezel is not made for this watch case, but it could be. If you notice, the bezel is only contacting, looks like, the first thread. Could you take a file and mill down that thread so you can achieve some clearance there and get that to seat? You could, but the problem also is the crown. As you tighten that down, you're going to have to relieve that crown as well eventually, because it's going to sit right there against that bezel. I don't know, I'm obviously not going to do that. That's not my thing. I don't just modify things for somebody. Easy enough to do. Somebody can do that with a fine jeweler's file. Of course my camera's not focusing. Let's see. Here's a close-up of that, how it's going to interfere eventually, because as you tighten that crown over and over, it compresses that gasket. So do you relieve the crown as well as the threads? Yeah, you could do a little bit of both. Right in here, you relieve that area all the way around to give you that clearance. That's something Kyle has to do. You can tell, you could do that. That's not a big deal. But there's your problem. That's why that won't stay down. Now for demonstration, here's a similar case watch with the factory dial. This is an anti-magnetic, and if you look in that same spot, you can see how closely, let's get in tight, how closely that thread is to the bezel. I mean, it's right there. Look how close that is, right in that point. That's the very last thread. So this bezel is designed for this case. The other bezel is not. Just a slight modification, but it's going to be a lot of a modification. So right in here you can see that relief, so that bezel fits. So there's your problem with the bezel not fitting. As far as this not running, I don't know or how long it runs, but I got you here. Let's do this. We have the ring loose, and we're going to take the ring off and have a look inside, see what's doing. If we see anything obvious on why this is acting up, not running right, see what's going on. Alright, there we have the anti-magnetic shield with the gasket. Okay, we'll take that off. and the gasket. Let's turn this around so the balance is on the other side. It looks like somebody has been into this movement at one time. It could have been Kyle. I don't know. You may have changed some things. But if you look at that balance cock assembly, it has a beveled bridge, whereas the rest of the movement is not beveled. So something was changed at some time in its past. I'm not saying that's your problem, but I'm saying somebody's been in this movement. Also, let's get in real tight, right next to the balance. Do you see that? By the way, that hairspring looks to be in fantastic shape. Nice and concentric. Beautiful. Okay, look what we have here. See that? Look at that big giant piece of dust, fuzz, whatever that is. That's pretty large. You get that floating around a movement that close to your balance and hairspring, this would cause major problem. This thing is a big dust bunny. Let's call it that. So let's get him out of there. I'm surprised I saw that right away. And looking over the rest of the movement, we're going to keep a tight shot here. We can come around, look around. Okay, why is this thing running intermittently? Looks rather clean inside. That big dust bunny certainly could be the problem. However, you know, we don't know. If I wind this up and this thing runs forever, well, maybe that was the problem. Has this had a service? We don't know. I put a few clicks into that and it starts ticking beautifully. I will wind this fully to check out how it's running. The rest of the movement does looks like it's got some dirt and dust. It could be that whoever had this apart wasn't very diligent about cleanliness and keeping dirt out. So I'm going to let this run for the day, but this is basically an update on what's happening. So there you go. We'll keep you updated on what's happening.